Good morning, everybody. Meeting of the Board of Directors in Nevada Irrigation District will please come to order. Please stand and join me in the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. May we have roll call, please?
Yes, Division 1,
Yes, here.
Division 2,
Here.
Division 3,
Here.
Division 4, Division 5.
Here.
Okay, next we'll have public comment for any item that is not on the agenda. Is there anyone present that would like to speak or online? Raise your hand, please. Let us know. Okay, seeing none, we'll move forward to item 3, special orders, investment portfolio review. And it looks like we have Michael Kronbetter.
I am here. It's good to
All
be
right.
with you this morning.
Good morning.
Thank you.
Ready for some good news?
Yeah, there will be some good news in here, and we
right.
can jump straight to it.
Okay.
Let's see if I'm sharing the correct window here. Okay. Do you see a screen, the kind of the summary screen in Nevada Irrigation District at this time?
It says account summary.
Account summary. Okay, let's try resharing. How are we doing?
There we go.
Excellent. Okay, well, as I said, there is some good news in the report, so we'll just kind of jump straight to it. Looking at the account summary, is the screen size sufficient?
No, it should actually be bigger, I think.
Okay, let's
We
do
have the
that.
benefit of the presentation in our packets, but
There you go.
Does that help?
much better. Thank you.
Yeah, you bet. Thank you for telling me. So we'll kind of start by looking at the consolidated summary of Nevada Irrigation District's portfolio, and overall balance of 117,591,000.
Page 8.
Sorry, thank you.
Oh, okay.
Of the PDF. And that balance is an increase of 1.4 million over the quarter. We show this consolidated summary as it includes a few CDs that are not in the managed portfolio as well. So we just give an overview here of the total balance. Sector allocation, you'll notice from the prior period, we're slowly reducing allocation from agencies. Prior period was at 55%. We have been leaning into treasuries as treasuries continue to be the most liquid and tradable breadth of securities in the marketplace. There was a downgrade, I will note, over the period on May 16th by Moody's that caused news in the market. It was kind of on the heels of all of the budget negotiations and talk, but it wasn't anything unexpected. Moody's had been looking to downgrade the U.S. government, and that follows S&P and Fitch in prior years having downgraded the U.S. government's credit rating to AA. It didn't move the markets. It was largely expected. And they just cited kind of higher deficit to GDP and debt to GDP ratios, and kind of a lack of appetite to curb spending and increase revenues to balance that a little bit better. So again, didn't have an impact on the markets, and we don't expect that'll have an impact on how we manage the portfolio going forward, because as I cited before, Treasuries remains the reserve currency. It's the largest and most liquid asset in the world. It's backed full faith and credit of the U.S. government, who has never missed or failed on a payment despite kind of rhetoric and some sharp tongues during those negotiation processes. So we'll continue to monitor that and let you know of any updates as well. In terms of the overall maturity distribution, though, you'll see we continue to manage overall out to 5 years with maturities ranging in the different areas there, with the total average maturity just at 2 years. Diversification, we continue to push to increase diversification of asset types and issuer in the portfolio. Right now, the highest exposure we have in that credit sector under the yellow portion in corporates is with JP Morgan at 2.5%. And then just kind of jumping straight to Nevada Irrigation District's managed portfolio that PFM is managing on an active basis. The total market value, $116,864,000. That it does include total market values, accrued interest, and cash in the portfolio. Cash was elevated as of period end, June 30th, at $1.49 million. There was a trade on July 2nd that took most of that balance into a corporate position. So, and as it sits in cash, it's not uninvested either. But I just wanted to note the increase from last period in cash and what was happening there. The stated duration, the 1.84 years we show here, that is kind of a reporting challenge because we do have callables in the portfolio in the agency sector that kind of skew that data. The actual duration of the portfolio is something just slightly over 2 years, closer to the benchmark duration, which is what we're trying to get to. And we'll make really good progress in the next 6 months to 12 months, aligning ourselves with that benchmark duration that we're trying to target in the portfolio of closer to 2.5 years. So that's been something we're continuing to work on as well. And yield at cost, another positive thing in the portfolio is that the yield of overall securities in the portfolio continues to rise. That's a good thing. Overall, the average yield in the portfolio is 2.71%, and that's up from 2.43% at the end of the prior period. So again, meaningful progress there, making its way up toward current market values, which as of June 30th was 4.11% on an average yield in the market. In terms of sector allocation, as I mentioned, we're still continuing to divest from agencies, which at the prior period was around 55%. We've reduced that now down to 47% in favor of treasuries, largely. And we've also increased positions into agency, commercial mortgage-backed security, as well as corporate bonds. We prioritize safety on this portfolio per the policy and state code. Safety, liquidity, and yield are the three objectives. So in the bottom left, we reflect the credit quality of the portfolio with 94% of the portfolio at that AA rating, as I said, the US government's credit rating. If you look to the bottom right, duration distribution, we do have, we're comparing the portfolio in blue versus the benchmark in gray. And we do have an outweighted portion in that 0 to 1 year. And I mentioned that several agencies that have been in the portfolio that are kind of skewing that duration on the short end of what actual is will be reinvested over the next year. So we'll see that come into better alignment in the 0 to 1 year, reducing that blue bar down to closer where the benchmark is and reallocating across the 1 to 5 year area. At the same time, we want to be mindful of any capital project cash needs that are coming up. So we'll want to be in communication and will be in communication with the district about those needs. So we're making sure to satisfy the cash requirements of the operations. And we've looked at this slide already. This is just the managed portfolio, which excludes those CD positions. So very similar to what we saw in the past slide. In terms of activity over the period, if you look at the blue lines, which represents purchases, those are, and then you kind of subtract out the gray line there in the agencies. This kind of shows exactly where the funds have shifted from agencies into other sectors in the US Treasury area, a commercial mortgage-backed security, as well as corporates. In terms of net activity, those are the three asset types that we've purchased in favor for the portfolio and reduced positions in agencies, which over the period matured and or were sold.
I got a quick question.
Please.
Michael, on the federal agencies, those are the housing ones?
Federal agencies or government-sponsored enterprises would be Freddie Mac, Fannie Mae, or Federal Home Loan Bank, Farm Credit, to name kind of the main four.
Do you see that we have so you're minimizing our exposure risk to housing?
Agencies are kind of the implicit backing, kind of they're in conservatorship of the U.S. government currently, and they're being reviewed to kind of be spun out again. That's been the recent talk. They're not direct exposure to residential housing. I mean, that's what the intent of these organizations are, at least with Freddie Mac and Fannie Mae. Several of the positions in the portfolio, now under half of the portfolio, are in agencies that are debt instruments of those entities. But I'm trying to clarify the difference between the type of bonds that are just kind of simple debt issued by those agencies versus the commercial mortgage back that was purchased in the portfolio, which is backed by commercial loans pulled together.
Got it. Thanks.
Yeah.
That's a good move.
Any other questions at this time? Okay. And then that net activity position of minus 567,000, that was the increase in the cash balance that had been reinvested as of July 2nd. So that was kind of a temporary position there. But the portfolio overall, this is, I guess, the good news. When rates fall as they did over the past year and over the past quarter, that does help market values. So despite all the volatility with tariff discussions and the reconciliation bill over that second quarter, that caused a lot of up and down motions in the market, the portfolio performed well, earning $702,000 in interest. It had an upward movement in market values based on those lower interest rates. So it increased market values by $859,000 for a total dollar return of $1.5 million. Overall, for the one quarter, that represented a portfolio increase of 1.35%. And that did lag the benchmark of 1.36% by 1 basis point. And that's largely us repositioning portfolio from the agencies and getting those out there. And longer portfolios over the quarter outperform shorter portfolios. So because we're a little bit short of the duration as we're doing that, we underperform by that basis point there. But over the past year, have been in alignment with the benchmark, 6.1% total return versus the 6.07% return of the benchmark. So just slight outperformance. This does include unrealized gains and losses. So it's just strictly kind of market value changes in the portfolio over time during these periods. But if we flip to the next page, we see this in a different view, and it's more of the accrual-based earnings. So that chart at the top, we like to see that bar rise at a more rapid pace, and that indicates a higher level of accrual basis earnings. And so down below, we itemize the 3-month and 1-year earnings on an accrual basis with the same amount of interest reported on the prior page of $702,000. There were some realized losses in there over the period of $4,000, $4,644. There was a change in amortized cost, which represents the book value of the securities and the difference there. So total earnings, $715,000. And what I'd point out is that $715,000 on an annualized basis comes to about $2,862,000 in earnings. And if you compare that to the 1-year total earnings, we see that the concentration of earnings is rising in recent periods. And again, that's a very good thing as we see the yield in the portfolio rise to explain that higher interest earnings for the more recent periods. And with that, I'll pause and ask if there might be any additional questions.
Michael, I have a question. I'm always curious about who is it that sets the benchmark? I mean, I'm reading, your footnotes here, and the ICE B of A 1 to 5-year U.S. Treasury Index. It's like, who gets to decide that that's the benchmark?
That's a great question. That's a fantastic question. The California Government Code has a 5-year maximum maturity for public entities. There are exceptions if the legislative authority of a local agency chooses to extend that, and there's certain assets that can buy longer than 5 years. Treasuries, agencies, municipals are some of those assets that can go over 5 years. I don't know that it's typical to see that. It's 5 years is kind of the standard for California Government Code. And so it's appropriate not to choose a benchmark that wouldn't align with that. At the same time, local agencies can certainly buy shorter if they don't want to be out in that 5-year range, and there's other benchmarks that would make sense to reevaluate. So when the portfolio was transferred over to PFM prior to me joining in 2023, there was a discussion, and it was selected with conversation with the district as an appropriate benchmark to assess what would be appropriate management of the portfolio. If that should be reevaluated over time, it certainly can be. It's something the district can choose to do in coordination with us as the advisor. And we would be happy to engage in that conversation if and when that would be appropriate.
I'm just curious how our chosen benchmark compares to other public agencies similar to ours. Or in other words, do we all, as required by government code, have essentially the same benchmark, or do others have, is there more flexibility, or, I don't know. I'm just always interested in that.
Yeah, thank you. It really guided by the strategy and needs of the organization. If the portfolio were to, say, invest, there's different strategies, and if the district, for example, needed more short-term liquidity within the portfolio, if it wasn't maintaining liquidity outside of the portfolio and was kind of coordinating the investments with cash needs over the year, the district might want to incorporate something a little bit shorter, say a 0 to 5 year portfolio strategy, as opposed to the 1 to 5 year. The 1 to 5 year essentially keeps, and it's noted down here on this page I just flipped to on footnote number 4. The 1 to 5 year U.S. Treasury Index is one that was selected likely because it most aligns with the strategy of Nevada Irrigation District to keep maturities between 1 and 5 years. Expanding it downward to the 0 to 5 year might include more securities maturing in that 0 to 1 year area. When this was selected, and benchmarks really shouldn't change all the time because it does require repositioning and rebalancing of securities in the portfolio. So it's one that should try to remain consistent for a period to try to look at the long-term approach of the portfolio. But with the 1 to 5 year, the district would then maintain its own liquidity separate from the portfolio that would be needed in the current period, or over the current year.
Our short-term cash needs are kept in the LAIF fund, which is the local.
Right, in the LAIF fund. Yeah. Okay. Well, thank you for that. Are there other questions or discussion in the board?
No. I was thinking the same thing as you.
Well, isn't that nice? Okay, do you want to continue? Michael?
Oh, yes. Well, my formal presentation ended, and I'm happy to continue taking other questions if there are.
Sorry.
Thank you. I appreciate the succinct getting to the meat of it.
Mm-hmm.
And it looks cold where you are. I'm surprised you're not wearing a sweater.
It's a little high in the altitude here.
I got one quick question. Are we concentrating on 0 to 1, 2 to 1 to 2, 2 to 3? What sector right now are we concentrating on putting our investments?
In terms of maturity?
Yes.
Thank you. If we turn to page 9 in the report, this shows the maturity distribution of the portfolio.
Right.
And the percent overall of securities held, as detailed kind of on the x-axis there.
Right, but they're trying to talk interest rates down, but they went up the last 3 years or 3 days. So 30 years close to almost 5% again, and the 10-year is around 4.2, 4.3. Is the 5-year, 1 year, are they going back up again, or are they holding more steady?
The question you're asking is on page 7, and this shows the return, the interest rates over the quarter, the change from the beginning of the quarter to the end of the quarter.
Right.
And interest rates in the period that we're investing for NID have gone down, and actually have come down even further since the report date of June 30th. So in this area, kind of in this intermediate area, say 0 to 5 year, yields continue to come down. Today, the 2-year, where your portfolio duration is approximately, is currently at 3.64%. And as of June 30th, the 2-year was 3.72%. So it is, however, like you said, the longer term securities out 10 years and beyond, maybe even 7 years, where we're starting to see a rise in rates as opposed to the fall in rates. So this fulcrum around that 10-year, where rates remain somewhat stable. Today, the 10 years at a 4.27, so it is up 4 basis points from the quarter end. And the 30-year, like you mentioned, is at 4.94%. That's a striking change from June 30th, up almost 20 basis points. So this phenomenon from the beginning of quarter, where this line is dotted, to the end of the quarter at June 30, where the line is solid, and this we call it a steepening of the yield curve, where the 2-year has come down and the 10-year or 30-year has gone up, that continues. So you're right. I think there's some volatility, not knowing what the long-term outlook will be on inflation. We hear that from Jerome Powell at the Fed, not sure what tariffs will do, if it's going to be a one-time inflation adjustment with the final tariff effective rates, or if it might be something longer sustained. There's some confounding variables with the labor data we've recently seen, with adjustments in reports to lower new jobs numbers. There's a lot of noise in the economic data right now, a lot of fast-moving parts. This week, we get the inflation number on Friday. Next week, we get the labor data again, which caused a lot of headlines last month with revisions. So we are continuing to watch that. In terms of the portfolio, however, the lower rates have been good for the market values. We've seen nice returns for the portfolio over the past year, as these shorter term rates have fallen in expectation that the Fed will be reducing rates in the coming periods.
Yeah, thank you.
Any other comments or questions? Okay, thank you. Wait, did you have a question? Oh, okay. Thank you, Michael.
Thank you for your time.
Okay, we'll move forward with the consent agenda, items 4A and 4B.
I move to accept the consent agenda.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any public comment? No, we don't. Oh, we do. Okay, public comment on the consent agenda. Good Lord. I know. Yep. Seeing none, please call the roll.
Division 5,
Yes.
Division 4,
Yes.
Division 3,
Aye.
Division 2,
Aye.
Division 1.
Yes. Thank you very much. Moving to item 5, general orders. Budget to actual reports. Good morning, Sandra. Good morning.
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
Sandra Dunlap, Director of Finance. We are here to talk about Q2 financials today. Might feel like you just heard about Q1.
Yeah, we just did.
We were
actually.
wrapping up the audit, so this brings us to current. So that's
Mhm.
good news that we are reconciled through Q2, June, all caught up from the audit. So kudos to our accountants for hammering out all those reconciliations. And so we will jump onto our summary schedules. Director Johansson, large enough? I made them large this time.
Well done.
I can read them now too, so thank you.
I know, right? That was very, very well done.
So
We
we,
worked on the eyes, now we have to get to the ears.
yeah. So we will talk about the summary schedules. So they are not on one page now. We have the revenues and the transfers in
Mhm.
on the first page there. And so as we know, overall it's 52% the total inflows, which include the revenues and the transfers in. On the revenue side, the kind of outlier would be that internal services fund. And that is because it's at 12%. And that's because the grants are in that fund. So as we've discussed before, basically the grants are on a reimbursement basis. And so the watershed grants are in here. Until the work is complete, we can't submit the request for reimbursement. So that's kind of the outlier for now. And then in the transfers in section, so most of those are at 100%, and that's because we do those transfers right at the beginning of the year. So those are based on the budget and capital projects, and we move from the parent fund, so like the water fund
Mhm.
10 to the water capital fund 15. We do those transfers to cover the CIPs for the year at the beginning of the year. So that's the revenue side of the house. And then if you flip, well, the next page is going to be the expense side. And so we have overall, we're at total outflows of about 54%. And the kind of ones that stand out there are the debt service funds 21 and 22. So those debt service payments we will see in the next quarter. They happen in July and December. We pay those. And then also the hydro capital fund is at 25%. And that's again, because we budget for the projects and they don't really ramp up for hydro until the summer, until the weather's better, really. So they should be ramping up here. And then that's pretty much what stands out for the expense side.
Yeah.
Any questions on any of that?
Well, I'll just ask a quick summary question. So is there anything in these reports, I've read through them and nothing jumped out at me. Does anything jump out at you as a concern?
No, no, it's actually, and I always say, it's never 50%, but we're 52% and 54%. We're pretty close.
Yeah,
actually,
no
too,
kidding,
so,
right?
It's usually not quarter for quarter, 25, 50,
Mhm.
75, because things happen at various times of the year. We get property tax revenues in tranches and we spend more at certain times of the year. So no, nothing stands out at this point. So these ones are pretty.
Seems to be pretty
Yeah.
smooth operations. Thank you so much
Yeah.
to your team.
Yeah.
Other questions, comment?
Yeah, what an improvement.
Isn't that the truth?
A lot of hard work. Thank you.
A lot of hard work. Yeah. Team after audit, it's a big catch up on
Yeah.
basically 6 months. So they do a great job.
Yeah, each time gets better and better.
It does. It really does. They get more comfortable with their area and familiar. So it's really great.
It really does.
Well done.
Any questions, Chris?
No, sir. No, ma'am.
No questions? Okay. Well, boy, job well done to you and your staff. Thank you so much. Terrific. Jen, is there anything else on the budget to actual you might want to say? Okay. She did do a wonderful job. Okay.
Do we receive and file?
Yes, you typically do.
Well, is there any public comment on the budget to actual reports? Okay, seeing none, we'll move forward
I
to,
move to receive and file.
do we need a motion to receive and file? I guess we do.
You usually do.
Okay. And that never sticks with me.
Doesn't stick with me either.
I know, it just doesn't.
Do we have,
I'll second his motion. How's that sound?
We already called for public comment.
Okay,
It's not-
yes, you did.
Thank you. Thank you for
Division
the
5,
reminder.
sorry, Division 5,
yes.
Division 4,
Yes.
Division 3,
Aye.
Division 2,
Aye.
Division 1.
Yes,
Thank you.
thank you very much. Next item, mid-year budget amendment, item 5B. Sandra, this looks like it's you again.
Yes. So we will also talk about the 2025 mid-year budget amendment. And for those of you who haven't been through a mid-year budget amendment, this is routine business with agencies. It's really an opportunity for the departments to evaluate how they budgeted for the 2025 year. Since we budget pretty early in advance, like right now, we're budgeting, started in June for 2026. So it's a good time to have everybody kind of take a deeper dive. They do get budget to actuals every month, so we are looking at it monthly. But this is an opportunity where everybody can submit to finance amendments to the board. So it's really nice that we kind of look at it in both ways. We look at adding to the budget, but we also ask the departments to look at reducing if they know they're not going to do something. So the request here today is an overall decrease of 1.741 million, and that's really due to the capital projects. So there's a table, you can see a mid-year table there, and there's a lot going on, but mostly it's projects. So you can see the ones in brackets, those are asked to be reduced or removed. And so the departments, you know, they had to go through all of their projects and say, yes, we think we're going to do this or not. And then they've added some new projects or some money to existing projects. And so that's the big chunk of it is capital. And then that's the capital section. And then we have a small operational section that we are asking for an addition. And so, for example, like the pension trust, we, again, since we budget so early on, we had already established the 2025 budget. So the administration fees for the trust weren't included in the 2025. So we're just asking to include them now. Yeah.
About those deferred projects, does that money, if we're reducing the budget, it sounds like to me the money just goes away?
Goes back into the fund
Goes-
balance, which
goes
we're
back
going to get
fund
into.
balance.
This
Oh, you're gonna get
next
into that,
table,
okay.
yes.
So they're rebudgeted,
Mhm.
so they just move forward. Okay.
That's why we do this on a mid-year basis, as Sandra said, for the budget, so that we can have an accurate beginning of your fund balance.
Okay.
So we understand how much cash we have now into the next year.
I noodled that for quite a while last night. Okay, I got to ask that question.
Yeah, a lot of agencies, they don't, we call it disencumber, right? Remove the funds, but
Right.
it's helpful here because if you know you're not going to spend it, it kind of puts it back in that overall bucket.
Right.
So that
Makes
when we're
sense.
building the 2026 next year's budget, we know a better picture of what they can spend. So, yeah, so they do a very good job. All the departments work really hard and go through and really think about, am I going to finish this? Am I not? Do I need more money? So kudos to the departments. Thank you for getting those in, and so we can get it on this report. And so that's the first section of the mid-year is the request to do this net adjustment to decrease overall by the 1.7 million. And then the second part is now that we are done with the 2024 audit and that's all reconciled, we reevaluate the fund balance. And so the fund balance, you can see on page 3 here. We started the beginning fund balance, 134 million, and we're updating it to 155. So many of you think, wow, 21 million, that's a big swing. And it is, but in the prior year, it's very similar. It was 23 million last year. And kind of the big ones that stand out here are the water fund 10 and hydro fund. So this is kind of twofold in that when we do the reconciliation at the end of the year, we know what actually happened, right? This involves the budget, and the budget helps us predict, but then we true it up on what actually happened. So, for example, in the Hydroelectric Fund 50, there's about a $9 million change positively, right? And so we budgeted $24 million in revenue, but we actually received 30 million. So 6 million of that is because we got more revenue than we budgeted, which is a positive thing, right?
Mind saying that
And
word again, please. Would you just,
Yes, I can say that again. Absolutely.
'cause I look at this and okay,
I know.
I need a class.
It's a lot.
I need a
It's
class.
okay.
Try to hurry it up at a board meeting. It doesn't make sense.
No, that's okay. And so that we're just going to talk about that hydroelectric
Hydroelectric.
Fund 50.
Yeah.
And so the first column, we started the original budget at 21 million. We're updating it to 30 million roughly. And so the change, that last column is 9 million, 9.2 million. And so that is a combination of more revenue than we anticipated. So for example, in 2024, we budgeted $24 million in hydro revenue. But then after, we actually got the money, we received approximately 30 million. So
Okay.
6 million of this 9 is additional more revenue than expected.
I guess my question is, how do I trace that through the next pages
You don't.
I can't.
You don't.
You can't. No, you don't have all the details. So,
Okay. and I
Um,
can go back.
Let Sandra do that.
What?
yeah, we'll take care of that.
That's her job.
No, but I mean, for what, the purpose of okay, that's the purpose of the question. Okay, what changed to the June 9,260,000?
Yeah. So of the 9, again, the 6 million in revenue, that was an upward swing, but then a positive for expenses. So I don't have an exact dollar amount, but basically we budgeted X amount of dollars in hydro operational expenses. And then they didn't spend it all. So they could have saved on consulting fees. The big one typically is salary savings, because salaries and benefits, as you know, are a majority of our operational budget. So if at any time in the year there was a vacancy, we had salary savings, benefits and salaries. There could be savings on any one of their categories, consulting fees, legal fees, anything in their operations. So in this case, there were about 3 million that was unspent. And so that's all together a positive swing, 3 million less spent and 6 million more in revenue.
So the 6 million extra, where did it come from and can we go back and get more?
Well, it's not exactly extra.
Huh?
It's just budgeting, right? So when you budget for something, we estimate to the best of our ability.
Right.
And so we did have kind of some change in staff. And so we keep the revenue estimates pretty conservative, because typically hydro revenue is the same, very, very similar, about 25, 26 million year over year.
But this one jumped up,
It
right?
jumped up.
Because,
It could be because the market, or so like the power purchase, right? The market rate changes. Yeah.
yeah,
Jen, can you change?
Wet year.
right.
A wet,
So it's a wet year.
a wet year. So
Okay.
we produced,
No, I can
Back then.
understand
Yeah.
that. I mean,
so that was
yeah,
a positive thing. So
yeah.
that's good, but it could be an unusual thing, right? We don't know if that's also going to happen.
So it seems like we have with our power purchase agreement, we have a basis.
We do.
But during a wet year, we can gain more.
Correct. Our large power purchase agreement is paid off of availability.
Yep.
Where we can have higher revenue swings, increases or decreases based off of weather is the run of the river.
Right.
Powerhouses.
So that's kind of the gist of the fund balance update. So it's taking everything for the entire year 2024, the prior year that has been audited, reconciled, and we know what actually happened. So what you budgeted was one number, and then what actually happened is what we're truing up here to get a better estimate
Got it.
for the future.
Right.
Every year, our budget numbers, so our projections for beginning year fund balance and fiscal year end fund balance, they're just projections. So we're constantly truing the books up so we have a better handle or more accurate projection on how much cash we have moving into the next year.
Like
So that's what this exercise does.
navigating.
Yes, we course correct, so we aren't
That's correct.
lost in the Bermuda Triangle, no revenue.
And it's important to do this before we go into the 2026 budget, right? Or else your numbers are way off. And so then when you budget on top of a budget that instead of actuals, it's less.
So the
correct.
24 year, we had the $6 million more in revenues. And even though we had the PG&E,
Debacle.
Debacle.
Debacle, we'll call it.
and this year we've had the PG&E, but we had a wet year. Are we seeing increased revenues the same way, or how we?
We had decreased revenue projections going into 25 due
I
to
think-
the
yeah.
use of a PG&E. So we might beat our projections once again, but from a budgeting perspective, you always want to be more conservative on revenue projections, so that you're not causing an ongoing deficit to occur.
Yeah, PG&E debacle didn't help us in this at all. That's.
Yeah,
also-
remember the PG&E debacle causes hydro revenue issues, so increased expenditure specifically with water
Right.
operations and pumping costs.
Exactly. Okay.
This may be piggybacking on your comment, but if we are doing course corrections, how easy can we take into the unknowns? Some course corrections are easy, I can assume, because we're going to work on Powerhouse A. We know that we're going to postpone that, therefore, or we're going to do something different that's foreseeable. But then all of a sudden we have this wild card in here. Do we have a fudge factor or something like that to account for these things, these unknowns?
Like a contingency, is that what you're looking for?
Not a contingency, but a weight, I guess is, when we do the budget, I haven't been part of the cycle yet, but we know that this over here is weighted at 100%, and then we have these outliers, the extra wet year. Do we budget, or do we have a factor on that it plays into it more or less?
Now, what we do is we purposely project lower revenues to be as conservative as possible. And our expenditures, we fully budget for, say, labor costs and those things. So we have a little cushion on both sides, so we're not blowing the budget all the time.
So you do weight it to a certain degree, because labor is going to be more of a constant, and this other one here is more of a, you take the lower side.
Variable.
We take the lower side of it, but also remember, we work in a business of things. There's never a day that goes by in our world where something's not broken, and it's usually something that breaks that we didn't anticipate it to break.
Mhm.
So some of our budgeting is more like a category based. So for example, materials and supplies or something like that. So we do a lot of internal shifting of the budgets as well. When we are going through budgeting, we try to anticipate what's going to happen, but we can never guarantee what actually happens. But this is why these reports, Corey, our staff member who manages the budget for us, he sends all staff monthly budget to actuals. We watch the budget like a hawk throughout the whole year.
Mhm.
Thank you.
Any other comments or?
I just appreciate the budget to actual, that the change is not in parentheses.
Yes.
So that's, yeah, whatever we're doing on the budgeting, being conservative on revenue and less conservative on the expenses is appropriate. And I
Mhm.
appreciate that. That mimics what we do. So.
And we do make choices throughout the year. We have an unknown expenditure that comes up in an operating budget. We might have had planned some type of operational activity, and we'll say, okay, well, now we don't have enough money to do that. So we're going to have to manage it differently or move it to next year.
I see that, yeah.
I have a question, and I think the answer is obvious, but so given that we had additional revenue of 6 million due to the greater water year, when we go into the next budget cycle, our revenue projections would not include that 6 million. We can't project that as part of our budget.
No, it'd probably
Correct?
be an outlier. We try to look back at a couple years
Uh-huh.
and then until, Peter settles in and gets a little bit more comfortable to help with the budget. We are being conservative on the,
Okay, good. I mean, I figured that was.
down
the
to
case.
right around the 25, 26 million is typically what hydro has been.
And remember, we pulled on a new powerhouse in between that time.
That's
too.
right.
So Deer Creek came on board. Deer Creek can have the ability to create a lot of revenue or cause a lot of expenses because it's
Mhm.
very old. So
Go either way.
yeah, so we're still watching the fluctuations, but it's always a really good practice to remain conservative on revenues. You don't want to
Mhm.
spend money you're not.
I agree. I just wanted to make sure that that was, we had a process for accounting for those.
Yeah, we have multiple
little
processes
bonuses.
set up. And,
Yeah.
we have an internal process as well where we manage it on a monthly basis and make adjustments as we need.
So we have the ultimate process.
Being really cheap and stingy.
Love that.
Conservative. The departments are all really, really good too.
They
They
are.
pay attention to their budget every single month. And when we have, something getting close, Corey works with them and they can do a transfer or whatever. But yeah, everybody's really good. They pay attention. Even for the 2026 next year's budget, we've already been working through that and they stay conservative. So that's good.
Thank you. Any other questions from the board? Okay, at this time, I'd like to take public comment from anybody or questions on our mid-year budget amendment. Okay, seeing none, we'll close that and looking for a motion for the resolution that is being presented.
Move to adopt resolution number 2025-41, approving the fiscal year 2025 mid-year budget amendment.
I'll second it.
Great, we have a motion and a second. Please call the roll.
Division 5,
Yes.
Division 4,
Yes.
Division 3,
Aye.
Division 2,
Aye.
Division 1.
Yes, thank you so much.
Thank you, Sandra.
Thank you so much, Sandra,
Thanks for
and to
listening.
your
Answering
staff.
all our questions.
Was really well done. Next, we will move to our workshop item, reminding folks that might be listening and who might be here, that our workshops allow for a little more give and take and questions from the public. So with that, we will talk about our strategic plan review for 2026. Jen.
All right, so I won't try to make this overly long.
Oh, you like these long.
So as the board is aware, the strategic plan was adopted in April of 2023. As part of the annual budgeting process each year, we do bring forth the board strategic priorities so that the board has an opportunity to reaffirm the strategic priorities or request a modification to them. This is just a workshop. If the board were to request a significant modification, we would then bring that as a formal item back so the board could actually vote on it.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll go through, and one thing, and I'll get to it in a second, that we did a little bit different this year is I kind of combined strategic priorities and operational initiatives, and I'll walk you through that. So the board currently has 5 strategic priorities: long-term infrastructure and water supply reliability, employee engagement, watershed stewardship and resiliency, financial sustainability, and then technology and innovation and investments. As everybody will recall, or most everybody, the strategic plan was developed by a multi-stage process during the Plan for Water process, and it did include input from the board, a variety of staff members, as well as members of the public.
Right.
So we will go, Chris, please, to the first strategic priority spreadsheet.
Is that the smallest print you've ever
Yeah,
seen?
this-
Yeah, I apologize.
Yeah,
for that.
that's-
I can't really read it either. So
It'd be small.
Sandra knows how to do it.
Sandra knows how to do
we
it.
might need to enlist Sandra to save us from small.
Okay.
So, but please do refer to your screen if you would like. So there were essentially 3 goals that were identified as part of the strategic planning process. And one of the differences this year is I previously stated that on the spreadsheet, it's not only the strategic goals, but also what we referred to is the operational initiatives. The items that are identified in this presentation are not are items that are above and beyond our normal daily operational work. So these are more kind of your one-off type items that require additional resources or time and effort from the staff or even from the board. The reason why we do bring this forth to the board every year is to ensure that our budget proposals that we will begin workshopping in very short order align with the board's strategic priorities.
I'm gonna have trouble going through this,
Because you can't see it.
right?
Yeah, Chris, they can't read it.
Even up there. I have my magnifying glass in the car.
Can you
Better.
see it on your
Yeah,
screen a
it's
little bit better?
better on the screen than it is up there, yeah.
Okay.
Oh, yeah, this can be read. I can almost read that, but I cannot read it.
I,
Yeah,
Yeah.
this is often, I can see better.
Okay.
okay.
Everybody
this-
Here, that's way better.
You got it.
There you
Chris,
go.
This
we're
one.
here, yeah.
All right, well, we don't need to see the comment section. So we essentially have a description of the goals and objectives, the progress to date, whether or not there is any budget alignment required, and then some general comments. I can just review the general comments. So goals 1, 2, and 3 were essentially development of some master plans. All of these efforts have been initiated for both hydro, raw, and treated. The next step is to put out formal requests for proposals to specifically start on the treated and raw water master plans. We did a lot of the core master planning work through our efforts to prepare for not only annual budgeting through development of the 5-year capital improvement program, but also through the rate setting process. So our rate models do include capital project projections for a 5 and 10-year period, even though rates are only a 5-year period. From a rate perspective in the rate model, you always want to look at a 10-year period so that at the end of a 5-year rate term, you're not having some big jumps in rates. So it helps us do some rate smoothing. Yes, sir.
Actually, the raw water master plan and the treated, they're 5-year reports. They're not every,
And the master plans can be even for a longer period. You can do 5, 10, 20 years.
oh, the ones that we do for the state.
Oh, those are the agricultural water management plans, and
Those are-
urban water management plans. Those are separate regulatory documents that we are required to update those this year.
So what do
You
we,
will see those underneath the operational
How
initiatives.
similar are those to these ones that we're discussing?
The urban water management plan and ag water management plan do not necessarily include projects, capital projects for repair or replacement and or extension of services. It is more an analysis of water supply demands and water supply needs moving forward
It's
into the
strictly
future.
regulatory.
It's strictly regulatory. We don't really use them for anything, so they are just required to be completed. And we
Too
complete
bad
them.
that they didn't overlap, huh?
That would be better, yeah.
This is like getting car sick in the back seat. Can we go on to a, can we go to a frame? And so we're gonna do the raw water master plan first, then go into the,
I don't think there's a whole lot to talk about on those. We weren't gonna spend a ton of time.
okay.
So in general,
What we want is, it's going up and down like this, and it's kind of like,
yes.
yeah. Just hold it there.
It's a little, yeah.
Yeah.
Question on the master plans. Are we gonna tie those into like the county's general plans for future development and things of that nature?
Only from the perspective that we use the land use
Yeah.
designations included into the general plans for future planning purposes. And a lot of that effort was done through the plan for water because that does help you identify additional demands or water supply needs moving into the future, but they're not tied into in any legal or technical aspect.
Record, but it is a reference that's used to be able to project. Okay, thank you.
So refresh my memory, these plans, were they ongoing before, or did we create these when we did this, this?
So the district already has it treated in raw water master plan. So
Before we made them goals for the master. plan.
correct. They need to be updated based off of the results from the plan for water. The biggest thing for the district that comes out of these planning exercises is long-term capital improvement plans. Because from just a pure need-based perspective, we already did the 5 and 10-year capital projections for annual budgeting and for the rate process.
Right.
The master plan will be a little bit of a simpler process, but I do anticipate we'll be pushing this out till the end of the fiscal year because we have some bigger things on our plate. So our plan is to get an RFP out towards the end of the year for the math. And then kind of jumping down into the operational initiatives, we have been working on several large ones that the board is aware of. We have initiated a process to revise the FERC boundary for the upper division to hopefully remove 4 of the smaller reservoirs that create a de minimis impact to our hydro generation. There is support for doing so. We've already started talking to the regulatory agencies as well as stakeholders, so you'll see more come forth on that. We are also looking at an exemption for the Deer Creek Powerhouse. It's a very small powerhouse. And due to the low amount of megawatts it generates, we are also requesting exemption. An exemption from the FERC licensing process doesn't necessarily mean that you don't have a license. It just exempts you from the larger licensure process. We're still going through FERC relicensing that's ongoing. We are looking to need new power purchase agreements for both Deer Creek and Combi South. Combi North, we believe we are to a point where we're going to be recommending rolling Combi North power purchase agreement into a larger one with NCPA. Combi North, we have, if you'll recall, we've been letting sit idle because the power house makes very, very little revenue. Some years it makes maybe $7,000. Some years it can cost us a lot of money. So there's a lot of thought and effort that Peter and his team have had to put into Combi North to determine the best path forward, which we'd actually get a return on our investment. The power is previously sold to PG&E, and PG&E did not want to extend that contract. And so in order to connect it to the grid, there are some infrastructure improvement requirements needed for metering and the interconnection. So we are finally to the point where we think we're going to propose rolling that into that NCPA contract.
So it produces what, 7,000 a year?
It just depends on
Revenue.
the year.
And it costs,
It could cost 70 to 100,000, but if something goes wrong, you can eat up your positive revenue. And
how many Bitcoins would it make in a year?
yeah, we've had that. That's a big discussion. I think that would
Outside of the scope.
be outside of this
It is
scope.
outside the scope. Thank
We're
you.
looking for revenue and return on investment.
Yeah, or strategic goals.
This is inside the scope, because I had a question I was going to save about Deer Creek, the power? Where have we been selling the power?
That's on one of the NCPA contracts. It's just coming for expiration in October.
Mhm.
So how many kilowatt hours does it put out a year, or
Which one?
Combi North?
Oh, gosh, I don't even know off the top of my head. Not a lot. It's a little bit. Yeah, we'll talk more about that. We've been all over it, Rich. We'll come back with a whole presentation of ideas.
Thank you.
Okay, as the board is aware, the Part 12D inspections required by FERC have been a massive undertaking. Peter and our dam safety engineer Roy have been doing a wonderful job, but it is very heavily resource intensive. So that is been taking up a lot of not just staff resources and labor, but also it costs a lot in expenditures related to consultant support. And then these Part 12D inspections then will translate into little or big improvements that need to be made for dam safety. So that will be rolled into the budget moving forward. The urban and ag water management plans are a regulatory requirement that we have to do in 2026. And then we are still diligently working on the Bayou Delta Healthy Rivers and Landscape Program, which we did sign the MOU last week. So that's good news.
Very good.
It's a big effort.
Yeah.
That was big.
All right, Chris, we can go to the priority 2. So this is in relation to employee engagement. We are still, staff has done a good job making a lot of movement on updating all the job descriptions. Some are for legal reasons, some are for consistency reasons. We're now to the point where we will have to do a meet and confer with the union. Anytime that the district makes a modification that has an ability to affect the employee's working conditions or working environment, you are required to go through a formal meet and confer process. So Naomi's been doing a great job herding that one. She's also done a lot of work on succession planning. Succession planning, especially in an agency like ours, is very important. We have a lot of long time employees, and we will be experiencing a lot of retirements coming up. And so it's very important, and Naomi's done a good job. We look to kind of the chain of command and identify those folks that have a potential to fill those roles. And we identify training or leadership improvement needs that we need to have to set them up for success in those roles.
So with the 96.9% retention,
We have fairly good
Record.
retention.
I mean, that's outstanding.
Yeah, our retention numbers probably would reflect higher if you looked at movements in between departments. You know, we have a lot of folks that transfer out of maintenance into operations or hydropower. But that's a good thing. The best hires are internal hires. So whenever we can invest in our employees, you know, labor is our #1 expense, and you can get the most bang for your buck in investing in your employees.
But the retention also shows engagement by the employees.
Yeah, a lot, it does. It does get harder as time goes on. You know, pensions did change back in 2013 to a new pension system, which makes it less favorable and doesn't have the same tendency to keep people at one particular agency anymore. So you do see more movement in younger staff.
Mhm.
We've been working on an internship program. Naomi has been working with the local high school as well as maintenance, and that's been going great. We're really supportive of the internship program. It has been the source of some extremely valuable employees in my experience. And we also like to give back to the community and make sure that the types of skills that we're looking for are still taught. The big thing we are also going into this year's employee MOU negotiations. The current contract will expire at the end of 2026. It does take about 6 to 9 months to go through MOU negotiations, so we will begin that effort with the help of consultant services. You know, we did a wholesale rewrite last time to do a lot of cleanup.
Remember.
Yeah, so it won't be as complicated this time. So it should take a little less time, but we will be initiating that process quickly.
Okay. We can't write a new agreement with a 3-year option.
You know,
Doesn't happen. That happens in baseball, but not.
It's
yeah,
not on the table at this point.
we'll have to go back and take a look at it. So the next priority is watershed stewardship and resiliency.
Before you get.
Yes, sir.
I just had a brief question on the employee engagement event calendar. Is that like staff barbecues or what?
Yeah.
Picnics and.
So what we try to do every year, we try to do 2 larger leadership sessions. And the leadership session includes not just folks serving in current leadership roles, but also folks that we have identified that have a great potential to be future leaders. And we usually bring in somebody to do some type of training. We then do leadership treats and training, which is like a voluntary, you come in for an hour, grab some cookies, and each one of the department heads goes through and does some type of leadership training, whether it's on effective communication or whatever it is. And then we try twice a year to do an all hands event. Sometimes it only works out once a year because we have to try to squeeze it in with outages and other large things going on. But that's essentially what the calendar is.
Thank you.
And then we also do like pumpkin carving. It's all voluntary. I mean, it's like you do a contest, throw a pumpkin out, and then throughout the day, people can vote on the one they like the most.
Nice.
Yeah, a lot of people don't necessarily understand the value of employee engagement, but employee engagement is one of the best tools you can to increase productivity and effectiveness of your labor.
It's a giant company picnic is.
In yeah, we used to do a giant
that's
company
great
picnic
for-
as well. We haven't done that. We do a large chili cook-off contest where we do a lot of team building to address, siloing issues with people that don't see each other from remote sites. But it's definitely something I always say, it seems like it's one of the easiest things to do, but it likely is the easiest thing to do, but it's also the number one thing that falls off the plate when you get really busy.
It does have a lot of value though.
It does, because, you want a staff of people that will do what needs to be done and not just what you tell them to do. And as soon as employee morale and engagement starts to decrease, people are less willing to do and take care of anything they see that needs to be done, and they start to only do what they're told, and that destroys effectiveness as well as productivity. Happy employees are good employees.
Mm-hmm.
And as a public agency, it can be difficult because it's not like we can give bonuses or do things a private agency can't. So watershed stewardship and resiliency has been doing, Greg and Nisa and Cameron have been doing excellent job. They are like the grant gurus of forest management. Greg and Nisa are going to be pushing forth the completion of the watershed and forest management plan. They've done a lot of good work on it already. And then we've also added to our plates this year the Golden Mussel program, as well as a Healthy Rivers and Landscape Habitat program, which is proposed to be a fish screening grant program that will assist private property owners with screening private diversions. So
Auburn
on
Ravine,
yeah, on the lower Auburn Ravine.
good project.
Yeah, it's a really good project because, we always look for bang for our buck, right? If the goal is to increase salmon, then let's do something that actually does that.
I mean, eradicate the striped bass.
That's right. That was your priority. I need a rich table of things.
Well, that's mine too.
See?
He didn't get all the credit.
A guy yesterday identified.
Number 4, financial sustainability. This is, as everybody knows, has been on our minds for many years now, and Sandra and her team have done an excellent job. We've made great progress.
Mm-hmm.
Big items this year are proposing the new rate model, which has been a long slog, but because the model has so changed, it's very important that we get the modeling correct. So we are meeting on a weekly basis right now. I do anticipate hoping one more round of back and forth over this next week should finalize the model. So we'll have something to talk with the board about. We've done a lot of work on unfunded liability as well as OPEB obligations, which the board is aware of. And then this year, our biggest thing is the Tyler ERP implementation. So as I've stated previously, go live for the financial portion as well as payroll is on January 1, 2024. So it's a huge push. We're going to be asking a lot of our staff over the Christmas holiday. So we will tell them in advance we appreciate them, and we know it's not going to be super fun.
Next phase is UB.
Yeah, utility billing. We do it in phases. Next phase is utility billing and then moving forward with a new work order system or CMMS. And then the last strategic priority is technology and innovation investments. And Greg and John have been checking along on the ITOT master plan. They've been doing just a wonderful job. We have a lot of good data from the consultant. We are finalizing kind of the list of their recommendations and we'll be bringing something forth to the board. For those board members that weren't here when we originally initiated that process, the ITOT master plan is intended to outline or define required IT investments over the next 10-year period. Us, like many agencies, have a pile of different applications and servers and data collection, and not all of it talks together very well. And so as data becomes more and more valuable from an operational perspective, because it really could assist us with moving water through the system at some point in the future, it's going to be more imperative that we have a very sound IT strategy so we're not wasting money. So that's what that effort is intended to do. And those are the big things. So how is the board feeling about strategic priorities? Would we like to change them? Do you have input? You like them, don't like them?
Keep a steady ship. Just keep going. I mean, it's the right path and doing a great job on it. Just going to take time.
Well, I really appreciate this review, actually, because you do sort of lose it, you know, in the day-to-day. I know I certainly do. So in reviewing this, both, you know, my packet and then again with you just now, I feel really good about our priorities and the operational goals that are backing up those priorities. So yay, good work, and let's keep going, you know, is what I think. I do have a question, and I don't know when it would be appropriate, but I especially am interested in the mentorship, which helps us build a bench, if you will. And I'd love to know more about that. Is that something we could do at another time, hear more about it as a full board, or should I just work with Naomi and go listen?
Yeah, we need to flesh it out a little bit better. We've been focused on the other pieces. So we'll bring
Sure.
forth a presentation, hopefully beginning of the year.
Okay, thank you.
I see we have a lot of things here. We have 5 and it breaks down into much smaller components. I'm interested and concerned about the prioritization of certain things, such as our distribution system, our storage, protection against sabotage, nature, fires, etc. Is there any way I can put input into a prioritization of things or a resource of allocation or allocation of resources or something of that nature? Does that make sense?
Well, I think from one perspective, we look at the system a little bit more holistically. So a lot of those items will be addressed in the master planning processes as well as in the watershed management plan processes. Because if they're not a priority in those processes, nothing will get done because those are the processes that then develop the capital program.
I have a question that it almost piggybacks off of Earl's there.
Me too.
It's did I step on your toes?
No, no, go ahead. It's all right.
It's just so there's 50 odd, almost 60 maybe bullet points, if you would. And how do we prioritize some of these things are obvious that they're immediate need, right? But some of them are maybe not as important. And then from your point of view, what do you see in here that was important in 23 that maybe isn't important now that we could abandon or take off? And then, so that's kind of 2 questions. And
yeah, I don't know that necessarily anything needs to be abandoned, but
certainly priorities can shift though.
The priorities do shift. So the items that are kind of those operational initiatives are of high priority for the district. And they do tend to, for example, the treated water master plan. You know, typically you have a consultant who comes in and does we have a lot of the work done. It needs to be kind of coalesced from other studies, for example, the plan for water and some things like that. But in order to move forward with budgeting and rates, we did do a portion of it, right? We did the 10-year capital improvement program. So some of those things, you know, the intent isn't, we don't have like goal 1 has priority 1 or goal 3 is number 2 or A or B or whatever it is. And I don't know how desirable that would be. A lot of these kind of all get worked on in tandem, but you know, I'm open to a discussion on another day. If you guys really want to go through and say, okay, this is our number 1 priority.
So
Looked
to,
like they were
to
sharing.
continue, thank you, to continue, so the strategic goals of 23 in it, what if, to address maybe like what Earl was saying, if storage is maybe a little bit of a priority, how can we incorporate new things? Is this a living document similar to our budget that we can amend these as needed?
Yeah, you could propose it right now if you would like.
So
Just say, I'd like to add.
That's the case. I would like to put storage as a strategic, just a discussion on storage as a strategic discussion, or
So we could put, I mean, if you all agree, we could add goal number 3 to strategic priority 1.
I would like to be educated about all the moving parts, and I think I'm missing something. I know the system to a certain degree.
Related to storage.
Well, related to storage and delivery.
Yeah,
And if we, I mean, if we need to deliver here, we need storage here, or if we have a bottleneck such as Spalding, we need to be able to deal with it. I almost think I almost need a 30,000 foot view of what's going on to be able to fine tune that. I feel like I'm missing something.
So at the next meeting, we will be talking about storage related options and issues, in particular to Rollins. But as Director Steve has just indicated, it is a much more complicated conversation. We have other bottleneck areas. We have Spalding, we have capacity issues at the South Yuba Canal, and South Yuba is very high risk. So what if we,
Another workshop?
well, I'm just trying to think of it logically. What if we add a strategic priority that is related to, because it also gets further convoluted and complicated with the regulatory uncertainty associated with the Bay Delta plan. So there's a lot of moving parts. I know we all discuss all the time, but I know it can sound like we're talking in circles. So what if we had a strategic priority that says to conduct an analysis? It has to be high level, like we already did the plan for water. So we're not
Right, we already did the
We know
very
that.
detailed analysis on
kinda
storage needs.
so we have an analysis and no plan for action is what.
No, we need to have a plan for, we have to do some type of analysis to get you on the same page for a plan for action.
Right, right.
So what if we just name it Upper Division Water Supply?
Why limit it to the upper division?
Yeah, I mean, I like micro ponds.
Oh, jeez. Okay.
So what if we do this? Why don't I think about
Bingo.
this more and bring some?
I think that's a good idea. Yeah, I think that's a good idea.
Yeah, but because it has to be something that's manageable.
Yep.
So let's, why don't I do this? Why don't I think about this? And then since we're talking about Rollins at the next meeting, maybe I can craft some language for proposed addition to strategic priority number 1, and we can talk about it then.
I think that sounds like a good plan because we know that we've got the data from the with the master planning that we did. And we also know we got Bay Delta, and we also know that we've got, unimpaired flows, our MOU. I mean, it all has to kind of come together in some way. We just can't talk about our goal for storage is X without taking into account all of these other factors. Is that?
My whack-a-mole comment.
Yeah.
You hit this and this pops. up.
Well, yeah, but it's like you have to look at everything as it interrelates, so.
But if we don't have a goal, it's going to be hard to associate all those things together.
Right, well, the goal should be to look at it for sure.
Okay.
Okay,
Anyway,
so
There's a solution.
then the direction I'm hearing we're all agreeing with, I will think about what we just talked about,
mhm.
understanding we want to make this a priority coming up. I will craft a goal, propose a goal, and we'll chew on it at the next meeting in the context with our Rollins discussion.
So I have, okay.
That sounds
That sounds good.
good
Does
to
that sound good? Okay.
me, yes.
And I really appreciate, I think that's the right direction. The 2023 lift to get the strategic plan was significant.
Mhm.
It was really significant and a lot of work, and I commend
Still tired from
the leadership. Really.
I was going to propose a whole new series about this new goal.
Oh, no, let's.
So,
8 more meetings.
Any more strategic?
hang on. My point is that the last 2 years may have rewritten our book on water delivery.
Changes, and I think the number one change is related to the regulatory uncertainty with water supply and how solid your water rates are.
And also, well, water rates, water supply, how secure it is with, because the government wants it, wants our water. But I also think that the way I got a comment that just 2 days, no, last week, he said, I have never had better water than this year delivered to his place.
That's a result of how hard our operations staff.
Exactly. I mean, and this guy, I had never heard that before. He said, I have 50 pounds PSI down at my place and I've never had it that good. And it was really a great compliment to. So anyway, all I'm saying is that I think our water operations guide management have figured out, maintenance has figured out some things in the last 2 years that we didn't have in 2023.
Well, and that is one of the silver linings of the PG&E issue is
Yes.
that our operations staff had to dive so deep into the function of the system that they've really been able to dial it in and get
Mhm.
squeeze every drop out.
Yeah,
Right.
and what a benefit.
Okay,
I want
go ahead.
to tag on to what Earl said and Brad said and carry that discussion a little more. First thought, I see a lot of places where it says need more resources or,
Budget required.
yeah,
Mhm.
right. And I go, if this is a strategic priority, I guess my question is, were they not budgeted in 23 or 24 and now, and why? Because and I get that some of them are timing things, okay, like the master plans and those kind of things that only happen once every so often. My point is, if they're strategic, if they're priorities and we didn't budget for them, I have a philosophical question about that.
I think it's me filling out the table lazy. A lot of them were included in the budget.
They were or they weren't.
Yeah, they were. So most of these actions are
Predicated.
operational actions.
Yeah.
And they're included in the budget through labor or consultant
Mhm.
resources.
Okay.
So a lot of this is us telling you, hey, look for this again in the upcoming budget. Some things it will be hard to identify specifically in the budget. For example, the revision of the FERC boundary. Yes, we have some consultant resources, but a lot of the work falls on staff to do ourselves.
You need to lay the foundation before you get to sum up these steps.
Yeah, and some
They're
of
just
it
not
is
ready.
a lot of foundation laying.
Yeah.
Yes.
So, and the one that came, that really got my attention on that subject is the watershed stewardship and resiliency one. Had a lot of that resources required in 26 and 26. Were they not previously included?
The initial
What?
stages were works that Greg and NASA were working on. So they were essentially included.
They were
as
working on
labor.
them, but they weren't in the budget.
No, the categories in the budget are much broader and don't identify labor for strategic priority. And the
Okay.
disconnect between strategic priorities and the budgeting is a difference in account coding, right? We're not going to open up a whole set of account codes for developing the watershed plan. The costs are going to be captured in the labor line items in the Fund 70 division or in the consultant services
Okay.
items. So some things you won't be able to readily see. The things that you can readily see our capital projects. Does
Mhm.
that make sense?
That makes sense.
Yeah,
Me,
no,
And the other comment I wanted to make about that, when he started, was about changing this thing, because we had to add Golden Mussel became a very high priority, probably the highest priority we have, right, at that point in time. And had no budget, right,
Right.
at that time. So there has to be some flexibility. Say, okay, we're gonna,
Well, there is. So remember when we used to every year, where the process was a little different, we bring forth the strategic priorities. And then we kind of had these operational initiatives that weren't necessarily driven by one of your strategic priorities, but they're driven from some regulatory pressure or opportunity that we see to take advantage of to
Right.
eliminate risk or eliminate expenditures or revenue moving. And those were the operational initiatives. They are kind of those one-off projects that are resource intensive and they're not part of daily operations. We used to propose those separately. But I think it was causing a lot of confusion. You know, we do strategic priorities every year, kind of in the fall timeframe.
Mm.
And then sometime in February, March, we start to talk to the board about, okay, these are the other things that we're doing that don't necessarily fall. This year, to make it easier, I kind of looked at the operational initiatives and I said, okay, I'm going to try to fit them into a strategic priority area, understanding that they're still operational initiatives.
Well, it gives us a bigger picture.
It does, because some of the things do take up a lot of time. So you should be aware of it. Like, for example, all the operational initiatives on strategic priority 1 are typically, with the exception of dam safety, it's a lot of the kind of executive team that does a lot of work. And
Right.
it also justifies why our attorney bills can go really high.
Yes.
Somebody's nodding over there.
It just takes a lot of focused effort. So I have only heard really one request, and that was to bring back some newly crafted kind of water supply storage goal.
Mhm.
We'll do that next time.
Water supply storage and infrastructure.
Conveyance?
The choke points,
Well, and the danger points.
the South Yuba Canal.
Well, we did part of that during the plan for water process,
Right.
where we did a risk-based analysis. So we
Yep.
already have some of that work done. So I think some of it is just coalescing things that have been done before and then kind of seeing the priority for moving them.
And educating me some, probably. Need to do that.
You know, a lot of it hasn't changed, even the out of control politicians.
That was not part of our strategic priorities.
Given that this is a workshop format, I want to call now.
That's
for any
right.
Kind of
Thank you.
information or comments or questions from the public, if there are any. Okay, seeing none. What is this being a workshop? You've got your direction. We're ready to
Good.
move forward.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, is everybody ready to move forward? Okay,
Yeah.
okay,
Oh, nice.
great. Thank you. Thank you so much for that. Next is the general manager's report.
I don't have a whole lot to report since I just basically reported out on all the
Yes.
special fun things we're doing. But we are wrapping up irrigation season here, another month and a half. Staff's doing really well. We're really excited to have water back flowing again. Reservoir levels do seem to be flatlining, so we're looking good.
I have a question about the real estate sales. Where are we in that process? I mean, we did a lot of action
Yeah, we've done a lot of action.
last week or 2
We
weeks.
have been, Greg has been working with the real estate team and they should be getting ready to list some next.
I know, I was gonna say, when do they launch the listings? Okay, I just wanted, right, of course.
The one we have an offer will be on the market and,
Yeah, we were working on that.
Mhm.
and.
Great.
I'll ask you privately.
Okay, that's it for you, Jen?
Yes.
Okay, moving to Board of Directors items and reports. Mr. Stevens.
I got a couple things here. Can I get a status on the stairs out there and how everything's going with that?
It is looking pretty good. It is my understanding. We actually had to delay their chopping up of the stairs because it's gonna be super loud right now. So they're doing that tomorrow.
Okay. Do we have an ETA on the completion?
Oh gosh, I don't think it's till December.
Oh.
Isn't it December?
No,
Oh, good. I thought it was 6 months.
Okay.
I think we told you all it might be about 5 months just to put an outside
Right.
bookend on it, but the schedule that they're following is supposed to be 3. It's probably going to be 3.5. So I think towards the end of October, the stairs and ramp should be done.
Excellent.
Wonderful. Thank you.
Second thing is that Brad and I went to a special districts meeting along with Greg. And we met Kevin Kiley. I found him to be very personal, knowledgeable, engaged, and receptive, and asking about what he could do to help us. I was a breath of fresh air. He didn't come in and give a long speech. He comes in and says, "Hey, I'm here to answer questions. What do you got?" And we brought up some things, and he was very knowledgeable on the spillway for Scotts Flat. He was very knowledgeable on a lot of things. So I have some faith in that. That was pleasant. The other thing is that you've already got the sale of assets of that, but the Mercury recovery machine, have we sold that or?
Who wants it?
I don't think it's sold yet.
Okay, just curious on that. And what
It's still for sale.
Is it in the auction? What do we do?
I think,
no, I'm just curious.
Would you like it? Yeah. Would you like to submit a bid?
yeah, if you'd like to buy it, we'll
Wait,
take you on a
Can I
tour.
put it on my, can I put it on my ditch? And the last thing is an update on the Golden Mussel. Are we doing?
We're just
better with that?
looking at, yeah.
I saw
That's,
something about kayaks and other boards are being inspected or might be inspected soon. I heard some discussion on social media that some places were now inspecting the stand-on boards and the kayaks.
paddle boards?
Yeah.
Yeah, I've seen a variety of attempts at inspecting paddle boards and kayaks. I don't think it's very feasible.
No spread that we know of? No,
But there's been spread throughout California, not in our reservoirs that we know of.
excellent. Thank you.
How do we know? I'm sorry, I kind of stole.
If there's mussels,
We
we do
we out
inspections.
there looking for them?
Yeah, we have an inspection program that's required through, actually it started with the quagga zebra mussel. So we do have inspection protocols and we do reporting. So we're just basically rolling the golden mussel into that program.
Great. Thank you. Sorry about that, bro.
No, it's okay. That's it for me. Thank you.
Okay, Rich?
Yeah, last time I saw Kevin Kiley, Chris and I, we thanked him for supporting NID and all the things he does for us. So I'm glad, we're on his mind. That's good. Had a meeting with Alex at OES, just a quick update. Thanked her for county support on the South Yuba Canal shaded fuel break. They wrote a letter in support. We talked about shaded fuel breaks at NID canals or shaded fuel breaks. Maybe we can get some county or grant money to expand that a little bit, help with the expenses. Talk about farmers, ranchers, that we do more than shaded fuel breaks free and maybe, be included into the master fire plan. They did include, I hear, micro ponds into the master fire plan for the county.
Congratulations.
So there could be, grant money coming for that. We also talked about bladder tanks for the fire chief, wanted bladder tanks, 500,000 gallons, 1 million gallons. Put them in strategic places, Rough and Ready, Penn Valley, wherever, Alta Sierra. Just scatter them throughout the county where the fire departments can come up, hook up, and fight a major fire.
Empty tank.
Hmm?
Or find an empty tank.
Well, 5,000 gallons isn't going to be enough, but 500,000. San Francisco, after Loma Pietra, saved that city from large portions because they had these 2 million gallon cisterns under the road, and they could hook up.
Hetchy.
Huh? Yeah, it worked. And then we also mentioned that the backbone extension would be in the 2030, 35 capital improvement thing. Then there's a summit coming up on October 2nd in Martis Valley. And so they're going to give, well, not NID, but me, I guess, talk about what working landscapes and how to be resilient. And of course, that all comes down, for me, comes down to water, energy, and money. The other thing is, when a crew was out working on the tar ditch, did a great job. They mentioned that they tried to get a telemetry reading from, put an automatic gate at the tar ditch and to go up to Pilot Peak, and then you could relay it in electronically, but they weren't able to get a connection. I mean, I'll give you an easement to put a pole up, and, you know, whatever you have to, because I know there are line of sights in there. And
Trees in the way that need to
Huh?
be trimmed?
All
Trim
right.
some trees?
Can you please put in the record, Rich is giving us a freeze?
Right.
And you can, and if Tim Rose listening, come get all my big rocks for rip wrapping too. But they're all free. But no, I think it's a critical, that takes over half an hour to get in and out, and that would save a lot of money.
Yes.
Okay, and so there's got to be, I know there's places on the ranch where just stick the pole up, just shoot it up. Yeah, otherwise, been a pretty good week.
Thank you for your report. Director Fowler.
I also went to a special district luncheon and learned about some pending legislation that will be of interest to this agency related to union workforce and the ability to employ outside contractors. And so that's something worth paying attention to. And then also had a fascinating or horrifying presentation on banking vulnerabilities and all the susceptibilities of this online world that we live in. And, you know, I get a refresher on that every couple of years, and it's enough to scare me off and make me want to go back to all paper ledgers and checkbooks and everything. But so that was very useful. I appreciated the lunch. They had extras there, so and I appreciate that. Kevin Kiley did speak a little bit about funding for storage. And then I had an observation, and actually Greg spoke to it a little bit, about the regulatory environment that we deal with. And then so we have a great burden of regulations that's put on us by federal agencies or whatever. And then all those regulations cost us, or cost our ratepayers, a ton of money, and there's no compensation. So we get these rules that we have to enforce or we have to abide by, but we don't have the mechanism of paying for them, and we're forced to put it on the ratepayer. So if we could achieve some kind of a federal trade-off on that, when they give us a rule, if they paid for it, for example, the Scotts Flat Spillway, this improvement that's
Out of the blue.
that's mandated by the feds, but state, or so wherever it's coming from, but then the monies to execute it are not there, and then we have to pass it on to the ratepayers. So I just had a revelation about how all that works out. And then finally, irrigation season. I so look forward to the end of irrigation season almost as much as I look forward to the beginning of it. So my water is considerably cleaner, and for whatever reason, and it's also running a little bit cooler than it was earlier in the season. So I don't know if that's due to the inflows in Rawlins or what that is, but the cool water, turns out it pushes a little bit further than the hot water, which that's anecdotal, but that's useful to me. So anyway, yeah, very much looking forward to the end of irrigation season. So thank you.
Thank you. Director Beerwagon.
Mine dovetails with Brad's. I haven't had to call the district one time about a water problem this year, so that's a plus.
That is really good.
That's all I have.
Okay.
That's been a good season.
And I've been on vacation, so I don't have a district-related report other than, boy, the Puget Sound area is spectacular, and there's a lot of water up there.
Everywhere you look.
Columbia River Gorge, yeah.
Yeah, right. Okay, with that then we will adjourn our open session into closed session. Will there be a report
We have
out?
to ask for public comment.
No,
I do not expect any
you do not expect
wordable action.
any readout. Okay. Then is there public comment on items to be considered in the closed session? Let's see. Okay, seeing none, with that, we will adjourn into our closed session. Thank you. And probably take a 10-minute break. Yeah, 10-minute break, and then we'll go back closed session. Thank you.
Brunch.